welcome to the WisMissus Podcast, reading, writing, and roaming around Wisconsin, the Midwest, and beyond. This episode is definitely a roaming episode. We're coming to you from the Wisconsin Writers Association Fall Conference, and we're at the Stony Creek Lodge in La Crosse, technically on Alaska.
Which is funny because on my TikTok, I said from on Alaska and it wrote Alaska.
Yeah,
But
we're
no,
not in Alaska.
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
And so what did you say originally, that the Stony Creek Lodge puts the L?
What's the Ellen Lodge? Definitely. You've got a moose out front, you've got a carved bear by the door, and when you walk in, there's a fireplace going. So you definitely know that you're in a lodge.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Both of us had the chance to speak today at the conference. I started off with a session on agent hunting, and then that segued very nicely into your session.
Mine was very specific. So from Val's bigger point of view about finding an agent and where do you find them, what are they looking for, I followed up with a session about writing log lines, which is the very short descriptions that you use to pitch your books to agents or to newspapers or to libraries or to bookstores that would possibly want to carry your books. So that it worked really well for us to follow one another.
It did. I was really glad that they thought that through. They may have planned that.
Probably.
They probably did.
Smarter, bigger brains than mine figured that one out.
So we have, some writers walking through. We don't know if we're going to get anybody volunteering to pop on screen with us.
Yeah.
If we see someone who we would like you to meet, we will call them over, but we're up one level from the lobby here. So it's people maybe heading to their rooms and stuff. So I'm not sure we can snag anyone. If we can, we'll bring them in.
Yes,
We'll
and
see.
there's an open mic down in the bar today, this evening. So I'm not sure. They're probably all down there having a lot of fun.
All the people that still have energy are in the
Yes.
other part of the building right now, but we were very happy to take this opportunity. I've just had so much fun being in person with people that I've known now for years. And it's just, I love conferences for that reason.
Right. There's an energy about it that Zoom works, it works for this, but there's an energy about gathering together and talking about what you love to do, which is writing and conversing with other authors.
And I learned so much even just at the table for dinner tonight about what everybody was writing and working on, what they're pitching to agents. So that is that kind of conference. They get to pitch to agents this weekend. So it's, there's a lot of good energy. There
Good
really
energy.
is. There
And
really
if you're in, we had an agent panel earlier today, so they were talking about what they're looking for. We had a chance to do practice pitches. So if if you're a little shy or nervous about it, you had a chance to go speak with someone who's experienced in that and could give you feedback before you do your official pitch tomorrow.
And I was talking with Barry Whiteman, who is the past president of WWA, and he was helping authors with that particular skill, was walking you through what a pitch is going to look like, especially if you've never done it before. It really helps to have those practice pitches. Do you remember your first time pitching?
Yes.
How on a scale of 1 to 10, Miss Tracey, how scared were you?
Oh,
How
gosh.
nervous were you?
Oh, easy as 6 or 7. Most,
Yeah.
even probably higher than that. Because you're on the spot, you have to come up with this succinct description of this book that you love so much. And sometimes it's very difficult to see the forest for the trees. When I was teaching this class about log lines today, it's a very short formula that if you find out that, the conflict of your main character, and you find the main conflict in the story. And it's just very difficult to put into 1 or 2 sentences. So thankfully I was able to, work through that and become more confident. But if you're shy about it or nervous about it, a conference like this is a great place to start because there are fewer people. You get a chance to practice, and a lot of people are in the same boat as you were.
Yeah, you get a lot of good companionship conversations where they're like, yes. And, you're probably waiting in the same area to do your pitches. So you're watching people go in and, come back out, hopefully with smiles on their faces, after they've pitched. Where did you first pitch? Was it here at a Wisconsin conference, or were you?
I think it was Wisconsin Writers Institute, and then
Yeah.
then I did other ones too. And then I went to the New York pitch.
Right, which you've talked about before, which is a whole different ballgame.
Whole different level.
Yeah.
But worth it, because you learn so much.
Yeah, and I think my first ones were also at the Writers Institute, Wisconsin Writers Institute. And, you just remember that first time that you've got to try to convince somebody to love your work. And there were I remember the mints in the center of the table. And they were like the Starlight ones, the red and white ones. And then you think, oh my gosh, if I start to eat this thing and then it's my turn, like your brain is going in so many directions, and really, you get better at this stuff as you go. And I was telling students this week, so we just had the Columbus Library, I help out with a National Novel Writing Month Junior program. So I was just talking to the kids this week about, how we don't always know, how to describe our work and where to start. And I was working on that with that age group too. And it doesn't, really matter. The first time you do something, you're always nervous with
You're
it.
always nervous. And the good thing about teaching students about that particular skill is they can use that for other areas of their life.
Right.
So if they're pitching themselves for a job, if you understand how to speak confidently in front of a person, a stranger, and you can describe yourself well and you can describe your skills, it's a great skill to have.
It really is. And then I was explaining to them too, that really anything that you do is going to require some practice to perfect it, whether it's sports or, a musical instrument or, writings like that too.
Right.
Because the kids are, they want to be really good at everything right away. But I mean,
don't we all?
Yes. And so here we are, we've got a really neat, spread of skill sets here at this conference. People are coming from all walks of life and different, backgrounds. Some of them are beginning writers and some have published, tens of books, really. And everyone's really accessible and kind and willing to talk to you about whatever.
Right,
you want to talk
right.
about.
They're accepting of what your work is, from memoir to poetry to genre fiction. Everyone is very accepting in that sense. And who was our keynote this evening?
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Samantha Chang.
Yeah.
She did a wonderful job and she was so inspiring. She wrote The Family Chow and she spoke to us for a half an hour.
Yeah. And
and took questions.
She's fabulous. And, when someone who is really at the top of their game like that can make you understand that we all are kind of operating from that same position of, sometimes feeling like an imposter with our writing. It was a really, really good keynote speech.
And then we have another one tomorrow too.
We do.
Yes. Ann Garvin.
And Ann Garvin is, if you haven't heard Ann Garvin speak, we were really looking forward to Ann. So so we're really lucky here. This has been fun. So I wanted to ask you about your session because I took pictures for you, but then I stepped out.
Oh.
So did you get some really good questions from the people in your audience?
I did. I gave a workshop about log lines. And one thing that I do when I go to these events is if I'm going to give a panel or speak or something, I generally want to give worksheets and a quiz afterwards. So
did you give a quiz?
Yes. Yes, I did give a quiz. And one of the questions was, writing log lines is cheesy, easy, or still witchcraft? And all of the answers worked, right? Because we're in Wisconsin, of course it's going to be cheesy. But, I like to give, in my session, we had worksheets so we could actually write, you're at a writing workshop, you want to write rather than just listen. So we did 3 worksheets.
So, it was a real workshop. Like a work workshop. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
So they enjoyed it and they were able to walk away with being able to describe their work in very short sentences.
Oh, I bet they really appreciated that.
Yeah.
I saw while I was in there doing some of the photos that a lot of people who were in my session, of course, I was encouraging them, but that they were there. So I hope that progressed nicely, but I had so many good questions.
Oh, great.
And some of them were very specific to, this is what I've been doing, or they were helping to supplement and saying, I had a little different experience here as I was doing my queries. So it really was, kind of a team effort in terms of teaching everybody about how to approach, querying agents. So I'm very pleased so far with just the level of knowledge that people are gaining from the sessions. There's so many other sessions too, and tomorrow all day long as well.
Yes, we have another full day tomorrow. And what's really nice about this, you want to call it a medium-sized or maybe a little bit smaller regional workshop or conference, is that again, you get access to agents. I sat at the dinner table with one tonight. You have access to a lot of writers.
Yep.
Easy access, and it's not so big that you feel overwhelmed or intimidated, I hope.
Right. And I think too, a number of us who have been at the conferences around Wisconsin in the past, few years, we recognize each other too. Like, I don't know everybody's name, but I'm like, oh, I've talked with you before, or I've sat at like a lunch table with you before, or whatever.
And a highlight of the event is our contest called the Jade Ring Contest.
Yes.
So you enter, I think it opens up in
Ooh, I'm not sure.
March. I think
Yeah.
it opens up in March of 25.
Right.
And we've been holding this contest for decades, and you win
Yeah.
a jade ring. It's called the Jade Ring
You do. You
contest.
actually win a jade ring.
You actually win a ring. So it's nonfiction, fiction. This year we had a short, What Wisconsin Means to Me. That was
Right.
a special
So
one.
a themed entry.
Yes,
Yeah.
themed entry. So if you're looking for a wonderful contest you can also option for feedback. Think about the Jade Ring contest for the Wisconsin Writers Association.
And I'll be sure to put that link into the show notes so that you can see that. It is just so much fun to, see the energy too, because they were announcing the winners. Now, it was just, you knew if you were a finalist, but tonight they announced all the winners. So that's pretty exciting. So just for fun, I'll link to the whole thing so you can see if you, maybe some of the people who won tonight. We'll put that in the show notes too. So that was, I think, is this the first year where they have announced them where the people didn't know if
I
they were the
believe
winner?
so. I believe this one was a surprise for the winners.
That's very fun. And it's nice to have a contest like that that's judged locally, and it's easy, the entry fee is low, just to kind of help, the administration of the program. It's a very legit kind of contest.
Right, we had a wonderful judge. We've had author Christine DeSmet on the fiction side, Maggie Ginsberg.
Yes.
We've had wonderful qualified judges who really believe in what they're reading, and when they name you as a Jade Ring winner, you really deserve it.
Everybody needs that kind of validation.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that they had lots of wonderful entries to choose from. So I'm glad I was never a judge, because I think think it's hard to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
hard to do that. No. Another really, really fun thing about a conference like this is they have usually a bookstore that is selling the books of the people who are the speakers. So we each have our little name tag here that says that we're speakers. See, so we were lucky enough to have our books in, say, the conference bookstore. And Pearl Street Books. So shout out
Pearl Street.
Yes, they've been fabulous, and they do a wonderful job. They let us do consignment with our books. I mean, they order some into if you're traditionally published, but if you're independently published, they're very generous on their consignment, and they've just been really delightful to work with.
She
I get
has
to go
two
first?
new books coming out, so she gets to go.
Oh, but yours is a new recent release
know.
too, but okay. So I have Haven. This is airing on Halloween. So this comes out today officially. Wherever you like to buy books, every online retailer will have this. And this is for middle grade students. It is on the tough topic of domestic abuse. And I really hope I've handled it as gently as possible and appropriately for the age group. Early reviews are telling me I did my due diligence with that so that it is a read that is acceptable to that age student. And then we have Beyond the Cemetery Gate, The Secret Keeper's Daughter, which is a mystery suspense novel. And it is my first foray into that genre, but we're going to talk about that a little bit too, about why we like mysteries so much. So I just felt like this one in particular is perfect to have a release day of Halloween. And when you independently publish your books, you get to decide what your release day is. So there's that. And your book is perfect for this time of year.
Yes, my
the
third-
recent release.
my recent release, my third book in the Backyard Model Mysteries store, and I write stories for readers who want to laugh and escape. They're funny cozies. I call them The Devil Wears Prada meets a Wisconsin Supper Club.
Yeah.
So this is the latest release. This is Model Ghost.
It's just lovely. And that cover, I'm sorry, that cover is so fun.
There's a lot of elements in each window. Like there's a yacht. It takes place at there's a land yacht, if you will. So there's got a little nautical vibe, and then there's got some drinky poos, and then her favorite dog is here. She's got a rescue collie.
It's just fun. It's a great cover.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
But so this is third in the series.
Third in the
And
series.
that just released the 22nd?
Yes. just
Yeah,
came
so
out.
October 22nd, brand new release then.
Right.
And then show us book 1 and 2.
Model Suspect, that was the first one. That's the
Mhm.
holiday release. This takes place at right before Christmas, and this is the summer release. If you're going on spring break next year, take Model Wave with you. This one is it happens on a lake and a pontoon, so
They're
so
just,
Model Suspect, Model Wave.
and I love your stories so much. They make me just so happy. Now, I'm not finished yet with Model Ghost. I'm terrible. I didn't finish it yet, but I am enjoying it, and I cannot wait to finish and write your review for you,
Oh, thank
because they are books that truly do make you laugh. I've asked people from they're not from Wisconsin, what they think of like all the Wisconsinisms or whatever, and they find them really funny and charming. And they're also people from the Midwest. So like they kind of get it and they kind of have affection for Wisconsin, of
That's-
course, so.
That's why I write about the Midwest. That's why I place my mysteries in the Midwest, is because it's such a wonderful culture and we can laugh at ourselves. And you're gonna call us cheese heads. Well, we're gonna make a foam hat and wear it,
Apparently we do.
right?
I
So-
can't say that I've ever had one of those.
Oh,
Have you?
yes.
Oh, okay.
We should probably be wearing them for this broadcast.
I bet we could find some.
Yeah.
I bet Lacrosse has some for
Oh,
sale somewhere.
yes, for sure.
Probably like Dick's down the street.
Yes.
Probably has some for sale,
I'm sure.
right? The
Yes.
sporting goods store, right?
Yeah.
So part of what we wanted to talk about today, just because we each have a recently released mystery, I mean, you've had a whole series so far, but new books in a mystery, is to talk about like kind of why we like mysteries so much. And really that's a perfect theme for October. I mean,
Mhm.
we pop in with all of our fun stuff about WWA because we're here. You say you like to write books that entertain and make people laugh,
Mhm.
but they are mysteries that are tricky
Mhm.
and twisty and satisfying, along with being humorous.
Mhm.
And I think that's very hard to do, but I just like, what drew you to doing mysteries?
Well, I love reading them.
Mhm.
I always loved reading mysteries, and I love reading cozy mysteries. And then when they added recipes to them, I loved them even more. So, and it's figuring out the puzzle. It's having your world that gets turned upside down and put right again. It's the small town feel. And then it's that strong amateur sleuth. Usually it's a woman who's determined to break the mold of whatever her former life was and solve this mystery. So that's what drew me into it. How about you? Because you just wrote your first one.
I did. And part of it was I kind of wanted to see if I could do it
Oh.
in a way, because
great.
mysteries are tricky. And I think there's some of the harder writing out there, mysteries, suspense, thrillers, where you've got to bring that reader along and create a certain level of tension. So even if like you have a humorous, storyline, or you have a lot of humorous situations, you find humor in everyday things too. And there's some ridiculous things that happen because you have some really cool characters who are kind of larger than life. So that's a lot of fun. But underlying that still, you still have to have that satisfying mystery.
Mhm.
You have to have all your clues and then your red herrings, your fake clues. And because the reader expects that
Mhm.
and you have to deliver.
Yes.
So I really wanted to see if I could write a mystery. And I started writing this as a standard mystery, very linear, where we are along with the sleuth learning all these things at the same time. And it wasn't quite working, to be honest. And I was kind of getting disappointed in myself because I thought I can handle this. Like I should
Mhm.
be able to figure out how to do this, right? I've been writing long enough that I should be able to figure it out. In the end, I realized that I needed to probably flip the script a little bit and turn it into a suspense novel more than just a straight mystery, in which case the reader would know more than my main character sleuth. And I did that by alternating the points of view and also kind of doing like a time slip. So alternating timelines. And I gotta say, it was the trickiest writing I ever had
Wow.
to do, which means I'm like more satisfied than ever with it because it worked.
Mhm.
But you don't know it's gonna work at the time you attempt it, you don't know it's gonna work. You
Right.
just keep your fingers crossed and then ask some beta readers to give you really, really, really honest feedback. So,
One thing that you said was tricking the reader, the red herrings. That's something I had to get used to because I am somebody who likes to be straightforward. I'm an optimist by nature. I like to solve things. I like to have things peaceful. But in a book, you have to have conflict. You have to, in a mystery, I should say, you have to mislead the reader, deliberately
Mhm.
mislead. Okay, and things aren't calm and peaceful because then otherwise you don't have a conflict, you don't have a story. So turning things around and, not having my character always say, oh, it's fine, it's okay. That was a change for me. I had
yes.
to be like, no, it's not
Yes.
fine. People are going to lie to you. People are going to mislead you. People are going to deliberately hide how they feel. That was hard for me to accept. But once I figured that out and understood that that's an essential part of mystery storytelling, then I was okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it does. And I think too, it's that recipe because do you think, I mean, your books, I would say don't have the same recipe every single time.
No, absolutely not.
Mysteries tend to have sort of a rhythm to them, but the recipe is different. What goes into that mystery and what you're actually solving. And then, the different twists that you come up with. you don't necessarily know how they're going to present themselves. At least I don't, because I don't plot those out.
Oh.
How do you do that?
I work I work from an outline, I
Okay.
work from a 4X structure, but and I have, I know usually who's, the climax. I usually know what's happened and who's committed the crime and how, generally where it will be solved, where it will all fall apart. In other words. But that can change along the way. So
Yes.
when you're writing, it,
Yes.
sometimes there's certain characters that are going to lead you down a path and you have to follow, right? You just have to go and you go, okay, wait a minute. The antagonist isn't maybe that, it's going to be somebody else.
Well, and it's really fun because you've done a good job writing when all of a sudden you have multiple options for that villain, because that's the way mysteries are satisfying, is that it will be logical at the end when you reveal the villain and the reader can go, oh, yes, of course, and they can follow back.
Right.
So you can't surprise the reader at the end with this like villain out of thin air kind of thing, because that's not satisfying.
And you can't do the info dump at the end either.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
don't do
can't do the backstory dump at the beginning either. You do your backstory drip, right? You drip that in.
That's
And
right.
then when the big reveal comes, hopefully you have weaved in enough, of a storyline to make it make sense that that's the person who, yes, that's the one who did it. Now it makes sense.
Right. And I actually partway through was asking like my beta readers to like kind of put a Post-it note at this chapter. Who do you think the villain is now? Who do you think the villain is 2 chapters later or 4 chapters later? And it was interesting to watch the progression of thought process for the reader. And it was pretty consistent where they thought and in the twists and turns. And then they're like, I'm not sure. It could be this person, but it could be that person. But, on the outside chance, it really could be this other person.
That's
And
good.
I'm like, okay. So then I started to be more confident that I was getting there. And those are the kind of books I like to read, right?
And you said you haven't, this will be a series.
This will be a series, and mainly what had happened is I didn't plan it initially as a series, but I realized I do not want to say goodbye to these characters. And I feel like I have established an interesting enough character in Chloe, who is a 16-year-old, and her aunt, who is now doesn't play a huge role in this story, but will in subsequent stories. And just like on an aside, in terms of series writing, because I work with a lot of other authors, I have a very logical reason for doing what I'm doing. So instead of like making this a prequel to a series where the aunt and the niece work together as sleuths together, I am making this number 1 in the series, because when you start to do a prequel kind of thing, those books sort of get orphaned off into, and it's very hard for readers to find them when they're not part of the official series online. So there's reasons for that. So if you're wondering why my Chloe and Maggie mystery doesn't have a lot of Maggie, just wait, she'll be there. And you do meet her and you do know who she is, and you get a sense, for what kind of person she's going to be in subsequent books.
Right.
So, and I love your characters. I love Mel.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Mel. Yeah, she's, what's funny is I didn't know this until the 3rd book, really. Well, it started showing up in the 2nd book. I definitely didn't know it in the 1st, but by the 3rd book, I understood. Yes, this is a character who's an amateur sleuth who lives in a small town, and she's solving mysteries, finding posers, as I like to say. But also, the heart of it, the theme of it, is female friendship. This is a woman who moved away from her hometown when she was 18. She lived in a big city. She worked very, very hard and kept to herself because she was a mannequin. Then she had to come home and reestablish her life. So she has to reestablish her life with her very small family, which consists only of her cousin and her husband and her rescue dog that I dearly love, and her friends and
Very
her
special
coworkers.
puppy.
Yes, he is.
And her friends and coworkers.
And her friends and coworkers. So this is really the theme of the mystery series, is really about female friendships. How do you keep them? What happens when they go wrong? And how do you maintain them over time?
And I hadn't thought about that, but you mentioned that at your book launch at Mystery to Me earlier this week. And I was like, of course that's your theme. And then it makes me realize why I was gravitating to the book so much too. But I think that theme is a hard thing. And I think a lot of us don't answer that until like we've written the whole book. Like someone will say, what's the theme of your book? Well, often that doesn't really reveal itself to the storyteller. We tend to want to just tell the story, and we know that it has depth. We know that our characters have depth. We've worked hard to make sure that they have depth. But that whole idea to name something as a theme.
Do you have one yet for your mystery?
I guess, okay, that's a good question. Let me think about that. I don't know. I think maybe it would be,
And it may change, right? You can
might
think about it right
change.
now, but if she's
That's
gonna write
interesting.
more to these, that theme, most likely, if it's not solid now, you can start with one theme, and it's not something you really consciously, well, I guess you can, but I certainly did.
I think that if you work too hard on establishing a theme before you've actually written the book,
It might not seem authentic.
it might not. We've got like luggage rolling, so
Yes.
that's why I kind of stopped for a second. So I think that then those things seem forced or trite.
Right.
So I think if I were to establish a theme, it would be, I wanted to say self-reliance, but really that's not right.
Okay.
And I think I would say trusting your instincts. I do that I feel like that's a theme in my Circle of Nine series too,
Mhm.
which is not being talked out of trusting your instincts about people or situations that give you that feeling that that this is not a good situation for you, or these people aren't good people. That I think that we get talked out in the real world.
Mhm.
We often get talked out of following our instincts and
Mhm.
following through on them. Sometimes, in terms of just even being safe,
Yes.
in different things. And I don't know why that seems to be a recurring theme in what I write, but I feel like it is.
It's a good one. It's a great one. Trusting your instincts, and that's a theme. That's a theme for life, right? And I mean, Shakespeare said it. I have a romantic comedy series coming out in 2026, and
Mhm.
that theme spoke to me immediately, even before I wrote the book. And it's know thyself.
There you go.
So the main character is working. I won't go into it, but he's working with other people as a counselor, and he's always saying, "How much do you know about yourself?" And he's always asking that question in different ways. And Shakespeare he didn't start it, but he emphasized it, right? Know
Right.
thyself. And
Right.
so you
Right.
have it too, trust your instincts.
Right.
What is that
Which
telling?
really is a know thyself
Right.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
But giving yourself the permission to act on what it is you know.
What do you believe to
What
be
do you
true?
really in your gut know?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm. And it's a wonderful theme. I mean, especially for a young person figuring out life.
Right.
Because the earlier you figure that out in life, in
Yes,
general, the more safe and successful you will be.
that's true. That's very true. I was recently asked in an interview too, something about like, what do I love about my main character? And a lot of it was her ability to not be swayed by the adults around her, because she's 16 and she is firm in her beliefs. In a way, I said too, I've written the kind of 16-year-old I wish I had been.
Oh,
Not the circumstances around her, because they're tragic and whatever, and I certainly did not have a tragic upbringing. I'm writing the kind of character I'm drawn to, the kind of people that
same.
I like.
Same thing. Wisconsin people, nice people, fun people, friendly
That's right.
people.
Except
Yeah.
for the villains.
Except for the villains.
Do those all come from out of state?
Yes.
Do the villains all
Illinois,
come from out of state? No, just
Chicago
kidding.
Bears fans.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I hope we don't have any Chicago Bears fans that are gonna like now give us a bad review. Thanks a lot.
Never mind.
Just kidding. Just kidding. So we're here for one more day. I'm excited to be here for one more day. I don't actually know what sessions I'm going to go to yet tomorrow. I'm excited to do. Oh, I will be doing the master class with Ann Gard.
Yes.
So that's exciting.
Yes, I will see you for that.
Yes. Yay. Yay us. Yay us that we get to be here and also get to bring you all along for the ride. We are happy to close out October with this episode. And we'll put, the goodies in the show notes, the things we've talked about, links to our books, links to WWA, Wisconsin Writers Association, links to that Jade ring contest, so that if you want to put that on your calendar so that you can then enter it next year and maybe end up, and I'm not sure where this conference will be next year, but maybe you can be here next year, winning your Jade ring.
Right.
So thanks for joining us.